I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're opening the pages of a book you're just going to love. It's called You're Not Alone, and it's written by Canadian poet and Navy veteran Jay Bramburger. This moving poetry collection reaches out to anyone facing depression, loneliness, or emotional pain with words of comfort, connection, and hope. Through his deeply personal and relatable verses, Jay reminds us that healing is possible and that none of us have to walk our journey alone. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today, and we thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel, by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Jay, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crawford, for having me on your program.
It's an honor to have you on the show, sir. Your book is wonderful. What inspired you to turn your life experiences into poetry?
Well, actually, for the book, I never really intended to write a book. In fact, I just started writing poems at a young age, um, and through through the years, all of my poetry was very, very personal. And I took my experiences, my feelings, my points of view, and as I went through life, and it became my way of expressing in my voice um, were my emotions and dealing with trauma, depression, anxiety, um, all of the things that we go through in our life, our self-acceptance, our loneliness, and of course our pride. So with that, it all started, I guess, becoming this outlet for me. When I was 15, I played a lot of hockey growing up. And one of my teammates, Stephen, was killed in a horrible car crash. And in that, going through the wake, going through the funeral, I didn't respond to things the way I expected to. I didn't cry. I just felt very numb. I didn't feel anything. And about 2 months after the funeral and the ceremonies, I was in the basement and I was playing with the family cat. And all of a sudden, I was overwhelmed with tears.
Mm.
Uh, all of these emotions just hit me so hard. I kind of looked at the cat and said, "Sorry, can't play right now. I get what's going on here."
Yeah.
So, um, for some reason, I got up off the floor. I walked to the desk in the basement. I grabbed a piece of paper and a pencil. And within 7 minutes, I wrote a poem. It just, everything flowed, just came out, all these emotions on the page. And um, when I was done, I read the poem and thought, wow. And I read it again and I read it again. And then all of a sudden, my sister upstairs, she called me and she said, "Oh, Jay, dinner time."
Mm.
So up I went to dinner. I went up for dinner, mom, dad, and my sister. And I said, "Hey, I just wrote a poem. Do you guys want to hear it?" So, of course, they said, "Sure." Now, in saying all that, my dad was the coach of the hockey team. So he dealt with the family with their issues that were going on, and he was very instrumental assisting them. So he was very engaged in the whole process with Stephen. Um, so I started reciting the poem to my family, and 3/4 of the way through, I stopped and I looked up, and my dad's head was kind of buried down. I couldn't really see his face very well. And then I looked at my mom, and she had tears streaming down her cheeks.
Mm, wow.
And then I looked at my sister, and my sister's eyes were kind of puffy, and she was sniffing. And I thought to myself, "Holy moly, there's a response, there's a reaction. I'm getting through." So I finished reciting the remainder of the poem. And when I was done, my dad looked up and he had these tears streaming from down his cheeks. And it's the first time I've ever really seen my dad cry. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Jay," he said, "that really hit." He said, "These are the emotions I've been searching for to be able to deal with this loss." And so I walked over to the drawer, I found a pencil, and on the top of the poem, because I hadn't named it yet, I wrote a message from Stephen.
Mm.
And that was the beginning. So that poem was not just, I guess, a contribution to Stephen and to his life, but it was really the first time I found my outlet for coping, for uh, for allowing me to feel, allowing my emotions to come out and have a voice. And
Mm.
from that point, um, really the poetry became my outlet, um, to be able to share, uh, the and I was able to see some of the impact it had, especially at that moment with my family being something that I had all so many emotions that I didn't know how to share, I didn't know how to express. But more importantly, Logan, is it really felt as if a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I
Mm.
felt, wow, I I'm okay,
Yeah.
you know, and hopefully this can help others to be okay.
Yeah.
So that's really where it all started. Then throughout my life, um, that became the source for me. So there was never really an intention to write a book, but after writing and serving in the military for 33 years,
Mhm.
21 years sailing at sea, I was able to see a lot of the world. Um, in seeing the world, we went to beautiful places, but we also saw some of the third world country, some of the places that were uh, poverty challenged,
Mhm.
the sadness in life, and it really there's a real appreciation for what we have at
Yeah.
home,
Yeah.
after experiencing these things, but just taking pieces of these experiences and allowing my emotions to come out.
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah, so that's really where it all kind of came and derived from. Um, so I just kept, writing poem after poem. And then once I got out of the military and throughout the years with some of the sailors and feeling what they feel at sea, I shared some of my poems with them. So I could see some of the impact, um, that the poetry had.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in high school, there was a young lady that was a couple of years younger than I was. Uh, and we became pretty close friends. So she was sharing some of her trauma with me that she was experiencing at the time. And so, I thought about what she was going through, and it kind of sunk into me. And then I ended up writing poems about her situation for her from two different perspectives. And then I put them in an envelope and sealed it. And then at school, I said, hey, these are for you. Open this up when you're at home. And, when you're having a quiet time, and give it a read, and let me know what you think. Um, so a couple of days later, uh, she came to school, and she had this little box that was gift wrapped.
Mhm.
And she walked over to me and she said, Jay, this is for you. And she said, but don't open it until you're at home by yourself. And there you go. So I figured she was just mocking me. But she, so I said, okay, fine. So I put it in my bag. And then when I got home, I was up in my bedroom and I unwrapped the box. I
Mm.
lifted it and inside, and it was a bullet.
Mm.
And there was a little note that said, Jay, I just want to thank you. I will not be needing this. You have saved my life.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. So that was some of the impact
Yeah.
of the poetry.
Yeah, poetry is almost like music. It expresses what words alone can't express. And I think that's the beauty of your work. And certainly you touched a life there back in your high school days with that young lady, and it's wonderful. And I guess also, hence the title, You're Not Alone, that other people are suffering, other people are hurting. Tell us a little bit about why you entitled it, You're Not Alone.
Well, I think what it was, well, the reason I did that was because in life, through some of the trauma that I've experienced, and I there was times when I felt very alone, as if I was battling this, I was going through this by myself, and so I would start to write, and then through the writing, I then realized through talking with friends and sharing the poetry that they were having similar experiences. Or, so it was to say that with these experiences, um, you may feel, or somebody may feel as if they're the only person in life that going through or has that problem,
Mhm.
but it's not true.
Yeah.
We all deal with uh, these heartaches, this depression, the loneliness. We deal with all of these emotions. Um, and a lot of people boggle it up and they're afraid to share.
Mm.
Whereas you're not alone is saying, no, you're not the only one that has ever felt this way. There's other people, such as myself, who has felt this. And not only have I felt it, but I survived it. You can too. Don't give up. There is hope. There is light.
Amazing. Very, very true. Talk to us a little bit about your time at sea. You were in the Navy for 33 years. Did that influence the imagery in your poetry? Did that influence your work?
It did actually. uh, actually, yeah. One of the lighter things that kind of happened was I was in the Gulf. I was sailing down in Bahrain during the war and in Afghanistan, and one of my subordinates, she
Mm.
we were sitting out at night, looking at the ocean and relaxing, doing all this stuff, and just having a little bit of downtime. And she looked at me and she said, Jay, she said, I'm having a really tough time, with all of this stuff, and we're out here in the middle of the ocean, and it's scary. And she said, what would you do if I just jumped over the side of the ship? And I said, well, I would raise the alarm for man overboard, and the guy at the back of the ship would throw a smoke over, and we would wheel around and pick you up and bring you back on board. And probably the doc would send you home and you go to a psych ward. So if that's how you choose to live your life, jump.
Mhm.
So she kind of said, well, I don't want to live my life that way. And I said, okay, so let's not. And then she said, well, what if I went to a mountain and just jumped off?
Mm.
And I said, you would die.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that question. But being her supervisor, I kind of thought, whoa, I'm seeing a bunch of red flags here.
Yeah.
So how about you come with me and let's have a talk with the doc?
Hmm.
So we ended up going down and I banged on the medic's door. We went in and, of course, I was like, hey, she's having some issues. I briefed the doc on what was going on. And he said, yeah, Jay, you stay in here and listen to the story. So, okay. So, she started explaining the story and then she was talking, the doc said, I'm really interested in this mountain thing if you jumped off this cliff.
Mm.
And then she said, yeah, but God would be there with me so I could see God and he would tell me what to do and he would take care of me. And I was thinking, whoa, okay, great. So we were finished in the meeting and she ended up getting flown home. She needed some help, obviously. So we got her the help she needed. But in saying all that, the impact that had on me was I listened to her story about the mountain and I was sharing it with one of my coworkers. And so I told her this, I told him the story. And then 2 days later, I wrote the poem um, about that whole situation. And the poem's called Stained Red Blood.
Mm.
And it's about jumping off the mountain
Wow.
and seeing God, introducing yourself to God. So
Hmm.
that's where the idea came from,
Yeah.
was taking that. So that's one of the stories with sailing that kind of impacted me. It was, not really funny. in a sense, but these are
Right.
where these ideas came from.
Yeah.
Some of them while at sea. Uh, so yeah, dealing in the Navy, I mean, it's not an easy job. Um, you're up on watch in the pitch black, and your mind tends to wander from time to time. So it's um, again relying on your shipmates and really depending on each other when we're out there. And I've had many sailors coming up to me saying, "Jay, you know, I'm getting frustrated with this, or I'm experiencing this," and we would sit down, and I would take previous poems or talk to them about it, and that's where some of these experiences came from.
Well, you've done a great job on this book. Your life of experiences have been translated to wonderful poems on the pages of this magnificent book. It is a true companion in lonely times, in dark times, and also in happy times. It's a beautiful book of poetry that'll just resonate with you. The name of the book is You're Not Alone. It is a powerful poetry collection offering comfort, connection, and a reminder that hope is always within reach. Jay, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, Logan. I really appreciate it. It's been fantastic.
It's a true
Thank you.
pleasure having you on the show. I appreciate your insight and your wisdom. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for the Global Book Network. So long for now.